I'm Simona Cotoni, and you're watching Awaz News. Del Duca calls on LCBO to ban Russian vodka. Convoy supporters' bank accounts still frozen. Trudeau announces more sanctions against Russia. Canada must be ready to welcome Ukrainians to safety. Canadian gas prices to spike as Ukraine conflict prompts oil market chaos. Public health mandates could return, TAM warns Canadians. Public Health Agency of Canada paid $200,000 to TELUS for cell phone tracking data. Ontario PNP removes CRS cap again in skilled trades draw. IOC urges sports bodies to cancel events in Russia. Extreme cold weather alert in effect for Toronto. Stephen Del Duca, leader of Ontario Liberal Party, is calling on the LCBO to pull all Russian alcohol from its shelves in response to Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Del Duca wrote to LCBO President and CEO Dr. George Solis requesting swift action to ensure the province is doing everything it can to send a clear message to the Russian leader. Our allies in Ukraine are under attack by Russia and need our help, stated Del Duca. Pulling Russian vodka from the shelves of the LCBO is an immediate action Ontario can take to demonstrate our solidarity with the people of Ukraine. The LCBO has not commented on the letter so far.
All Russian products that are currently on shelves, and I want to stop the purchase of Russian alcohol for the time being because of what we've seen occurring, the heartbreaking pictures that we've seen of Russia's aggression, illegal aggression into Ukraine. It's so important to send a clear message.
You think it'll be like a punitive measure against Russia?
Well, look, the LCBO, and not a lot of people know this, the LCBO is actually the largest buyer of alcohol in the world. And so I think it will send a clear financial message to Russia. But at the same time, it's important for us to show Ukrainians who live here in our province who are heartbroken as they should be over what's happening back home, and send that message to Ukrainians around the world that Ontarians and Canadians stand with them and stand in opposition to what Russia is doing. I think we should look at every option available to us. I think the LCBO is a really good start because, of course, it is something that is a public agency, an agency of the government of Ontario. I think that's a really good place to start.
The funds of Freedom Convoy participants and sympathizers are still frozen, a representative of Trudeau's cabinet told the Senate yesterday. Senator Gold said that bank customers will continue to work together, and it is hoped any issue that may arise will be resolved appropriately and quickly. An estimate by the Department of Finance said that as many as 210 accounts containing $7.8 million were affected by the freeze. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada and other G7 countries will bring forward even more sanctions as they move to harm Russia's economy. This is in line with President Joe Biden's announcement as well. Canada will be targeting 62 entities, including Russian bank and individual Russian elites and family members, and that Canada would cancel export permits for Russian products. In a statement released last night, Trudeau said that Canada calls on Russia to immediately cease all hostile and proactive actions against Ukraine and withdraw all military and proxy forces from the country.
Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 5th daily press conference of this week with me. I'm joined here today by Minister Joly and virtually by Deputy Prime Minister Freeland and Ministers Anand, Fraser, Sajjan to announce further measures in response to the tragedy in Ukraine. The world is witnessing the horrors of President Putin's war of choice. This is a brutal, needless attack on a sovereign, democratic country. It is an atrocity for Ukraine's over 40 million innocent citizens and for the world. Is announcing our third set of severe, coordinated sanctions. First, we will be imposing sanctions on President Putin and his fellow architects of this barbaric war, his Chief of Staff and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. These men bear the greatest responsibility for the death and destruction occurring in Ukraine. Additionally, I am confirming Canada's support to remove Russia from the SWIFT payment system, a critical part of the global banking system. We've made it clear that all options are on the table when it comes to imposing steep costs on Russia's unjustified and unprovoked invasion, and that includes taking steps to exclude Russia from making financial transactions around the world. Excluding Russian banks from SWIFT would make it even more difficult for President Putin to finance his brutalities. Canada is also announcing that we will levy additional sanctions on Belarus and its leaders for abetting President Putin's invasion of a free and sovereign nation. These will target 57 individuals and are in addition to the dozens of existing strong sanctions already leveled against Alexander Lukashenko's regime for their repeated, systematic human rights violations and decades of oppression of their own people. Match every donation you make to the Canadian Red Cross Ukraine Humanitarian Crisis Appeal up to $10 million. This money will go directly to supporting relief efforts in the region. This is in addition to the $50 million for development humanitarian aid previously announced and the $620 million in sovereign loans we have made available to Ukraine's government. On a more personal note, let me just say that I've had the pleasure of getting to know Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, quite well over the past number of years. Like I told him when we spoke yesterday, I am inspired by his resolve and his devotion to his country. He is the embodiment of the courage of Ukrainian people, and just like him, Ukrainian people are showing incredible strength and resilience. President Putin's war on Ukraine is a war on freedom, on democracy, and on the rights of Ukrainians and all people to determine their own future. President Putin has opened the darkest chapter yet in his assault on the Ukrainian people, but he has made a grave miscalculation. People around the world, including in the streets of Moscow and St. Petersburg, are standing against his brutal and unnecessary war. They are standing with Ukraine, as are all of us. Canada, and increasingly the world, stand united and unwavering in our support of Ukraine. Merci.
Europe is facing a massive new migration crisis because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and Canada should prepare to provide asylum to those fleeing the violence. Canada has promised to prioritize immigration applications from Ukraine to bring people fleeing the country to safety as quickly as possible. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also announced the creation of new hotline Thursday for anyone at home or abroad with urgent Ukraine-related immigration questions. Ukrainian nationals in Canada can also apply to extend their study or work permits to stay safely in the country. Canadians can expect to pay more at the pump as Russia's attack on Ukraine puts even greater pressure on an already surging oil price environment. The high demand for oil combined with the shortage of supply has been pushing oil prices and consequently gas prices up for weeks. This is still much uncertainty around how tensions between Russia and Ukraine will play out and if there will ultimately be a loss of oil supply. The agency began tracking users' data in April 2020, and the TELUS-related data scoop involved retroactively tracking cell phone location data dating back to January 2019. The request for information was prompted by the admission to a House of Commons committee that the agency tasked with pandemic preparedness had been secretly using the location data of over 30 million Canadian cell phones and other devices to evaluate public health measures and other aspects related to public health response, programming, planning, and preparedness. Ontario invited 818 express entry candidates to apply for a provincial nomination on February 24th. These candidates needed to have a profile in the express entry system with a comprehensive ranking system, also called a CRS, score of at least 359. Ontario invited candidates who had created an express entry profile between the dates of February 24, 2021 and February 24, 2022. For the second time in a row, Ontario removed its CRS cap. The International Olympic Committee urged sports bodies on Friday to cancel or move all the events they plan to hold in Russia and stop using the country's flag and national anthems. The request from the Olympic body came after UEFA moved the Champions League final from St. Petersburg to suburban Paris, and after the governing body of skiing and Formula One pulled upcoming races from Russia. An extreme cold weather alert is in effect for Toronto as frigid temperatures are set to continue Friday. Environment Canada says it will feel like minus 18 degrees Celsius with the wind chill in Toronto Friday morning, and the high will sit at minus 4 degrees Celsius. Thank you for watching Awaz News, and stay tuned for more updates.